hate. And I know better than to listen to the people who are calling us slaves. I can feel the sunlight shining.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Brian, and today is Monday, November 18th, 2024, and welcome to episode 807 of the TheLOTSProject Morning Show, where the coffee's strong, the opinions are stronger, and everything is filter-free. Today, I'm enjoying a medium-light Guatemalan from foodforestfarms.com, where you can get 10% off with discount code LOTS10. That's LOTS10, and the shipping is always free. While you're there, check out the C4 Club. Christmas time is here, and Scramblin' has rolled out his Christmas deal, annual Black Friday Christmas deal, where you buy a year of C4 Club and get a hell of a deal. You get a significant amount of money off. You can check that out at foodforestfarms.com. Look for the annual C4 membership. Great gift for yourself or someone else. Just check it out today. Not going to Noster again today, it looks like. Have to dig into that after the show. I have no idea what's going on there. It appears that my stream is ended over there, and that's not going to be working. So, whoop. That's, it is what it is. Technology is grand. I think it might have something to do with the issues that StreamYard was having. I sent them a customer service message. I think I talked about it on Friday or the day before. Good morning, Haas. Good morning, Canadian Farmstead. Canadian Farmstead's driving this morning, so won't be as chatty, maybe. But I sent them a customer service nastygram, I guess you'd call it, the other day. Last week. Good morning and good day to you, John Palmer. About their service crashing during interviews. It was crashing for a couple of my guests. It's crashed on me the one day. Good morning, Hunter. Thanks for popping in on Twitch. Noster's down again, if you didn't hear earlier. But I sent him a nastygram. They wrote back with a bunch of bullshit. Check this, check that setting, check your internet connection, everything on specifically on my end. Even though in the note I was like, this is happening to my guests on their computer, two different guests, two different computers, two different browser types, and then also for me, what's the deal? And when they wrote back with all the stock bullshit answers, I just replied and said, no, maybe I should just try a different streaming service. And I thought that was going to be the end of it. They wrote back and they were like, well, we can confirm that we fixed the issues that were going on. Refresh your browser and it should be working fine. And I'm like, I don't know about that. Well, first of all, you said it was my fault and everything on my end, and now you're saying you fixed it. So which is it? Was it an issue in the software, or was it on my end? So yeah, we'll see. Obviously, Noster's not working, so I'll have to dig into that. And I have a few ideas. What it might be. Stream might have ended. I just run to the same stream over there all the time, and Zap.stream might have cut that off at a certain amount of hours. Who knows? I should go in and I'll check it out after the show. But anyway, it's a good weekend, and today I'm going to be talking about all the stuff that went on. Won't get through it all, I imagine, but had some good, some bad, some ugly. And just overall, it was a nice weekend out at the cabin in the woods, Tim's cabin out at Delinquent's Gully with Corey and the dogs. Weather was a little chilly. It was chilly overnight. Both nights. The first night, the worst. It was down into the 30s overnight. We didn't have an heater in the cabin, so it was bundle up. And Brian, I didn't bring my didn't bring a sleeping bag or anything, so I just had a couple of knit blankets. I was a little chilly. Corey snuggled up with the dog. She was all good, and we made it through. Second night wasn't as bad. It was about 5 degrees warmer, so it was tolerable. The first night was tolerable, but it was a little chilly. So there was that. It was gorgeous. Other than that, it was calm. No rain to speak of. Just gorgeous fall day here in Tennessee for the weekend, the whole weekend. Yeah. So we got some stuff to fix. We got some stuff. We have some wins, some losses. Let's start with a win. I went up and checked the our water tote, our gutter project off the shed, and that's going well. It's almost full, like really almost full. I can't believe it didn't overflow. One really significant rain event over a day and a half, and then a second pretty significant rain event for a day. And our tote I was surprised it didn't overflow, to be honest. But it's within an inch or so of the top, and if it rains again, or even with the amount of dew we're getting and condensation we're getting on the roof, if that continues for any length of time, I'm guessing this tote's going to be overflowing out the top, which means that I am late on my my overflow system, which I knew it was going to take a little while. Have some other pressing issues. All I want to do is start collecting water, and it has some place to go. It's not like it's not like a pressure vessel or something where it's going to go in there and cause havoc if it doesn't get out. There's a hole where the pipe goes in that it'll just make its way out. So I'm not completely worried about that. I got the supplies to work on the first flush system. I didn't get a chance to get to it. We had a bunch of stuff on the list, and that was down there for sure. I needed to do a little testing on. So what I need to do is put a hose barb with a threaded connection into a piece of 2-inch PVC pipe. And I've been trying to decide the best way to do it. Obviously the correct way would be to put a fitting in, and either get a barb with a threaded end that's big enough for whatever fitting I put in. Or use adapters to neck down to the size that's reasonable. All of that seemed like a lot of messing around and a lot of extra parts and money. And so I've decided that I'm going to probably drill a hole and tap it and screw it in. So this is for the drip emitter coming out to actually drain the first flush. So I don't think that having it seal necessarily is the main objective. If it drips, if it leaks a little bit, it is what it is. I'll just pinch off the emitter and let it drip out, and the same goal will be accomplished. But basically, I picked up I had a tap, or I had the drill bit, picked up tap and a brass fitting, and I just didn't get a chance to put it together. I'm pretty sure it'll work. I've done it before with some other stuff, just not this size, and so we'll see. Just got to be careful, and we'll see how it goes. And if it doesn't work, I'll cut that piece of pipe off and go a different direction. I'm doing it right down at the bottom, so it's not an issue there. So that's kind of what's going on with the rain gutter project up at the shed, up at our site, on our shed. The overflow system, yeah, that's a different story. I haven't really finalized where I want the plumbing to go and how I want it run. So it's I've been going back and forth in my brain. and ping-ponging back and forth between a couple different ideas, and haven't really landed on one yet. So that gets tough to do when I'm not exactly sure how I want to do it. But that's that. And along with the water, the next step in that process is going to be finishing out the hole that is going to be a little secondary catchment pond next to it. Need to dig just a little bit more. Pretty close to where the final size is going to be. I've decided to go with a used billboard tarp like we did for our our skirting, actually a little thicker than the one we did for our skirting, and drop that in there as a liner, and away we go with that. And then that'll overflow over the bank down to either another catchment or just down to the bottom of the hill where the water is anyway. So that's a little update on the garden shed water project. We have another shed that Corey and I are going to be building hopefully next weekend. That was kind of a bummer when I opened up the directions for that, as I was under the assumption that this one came with a floor. It came with a sturdier frame to where it could be built on the ground, and then it had a floor. No such luck. I get to build a floor, and so there's that. That was something I didn't want to have to do. It's not a big deal. It'll get done. It's just an extra step that has to be done. And luckily, it's only a 3x5 or 3.5x5 or something like that. A smaller garden shed, so the floor should be pretty easy to knock out. And we have scrap material on site that we should have enough in the scrap material to build that little floor. So that's on the list for probably next weekend. And Corey and I really aren't sure if we're going to go out next weekend, because as of now, the weather forecast looks like it's going to be even colder than it was this past weekend. And we'll have a couple of days, overnights down in the mid to lower 30s. So I don't know. I haven't really decided if I wanted to do that. I really won't mind. I'd probably just take a sleeping bag and it'd be fine. It's dealing with all the other shit when it's super cold that I don't know if I want to roll with. So there's that. But we'll go out and work on that. Hunter says it's warm there. It warmed up today again, and the forecast is like it's really nice, like 60s, 70s, and 60s and 70s during the day, and then 40s, 50s overnight. But then it pops down for like 2 or 3 days, down to where it's overnight in the mid to low 30s, upper to mid 30s, and daytime highs we're only getting up to like 50. So it's tough when you don't have a heater out there. I mean, I'm sure I could go round up a buddy heater, or borrow. I know Jamie has an extra diesel heater that I could use. I'm sure. It's a matter of if I just want to go through the motions to do that. If I want to deal with it, or we can stay here, get other shit done, because we have plenty of stuff to do around here also, and make day trips out. It's one of those deals. It's not that bad. We're only 20 minutes away, so 20 minutes, half an hour away. So if one weekend or so we end up staying here, it's not the end of the world. So, but that's next on the list, is that garden shed, among other fixes. Among other fixes. So those were kind of the good things. Let me look at the list there. Yeah. Those were the good things. Mike's Homestead says build a barrel heater. There is a barrel heater there. Do you know how hot it would be in that cabin with a 55-gallon drum barrel heater that's there? It would roast us out of there. I mean, outside we could use it just fine. And I mean, Corey ran a fire all day Saturday. Cleaned up. I guess that's another good thing. Corey cleaned up a crap load of brush and deadfall and trees I dropped down. She took all the limbing, the trimmings, the slash, and ran a fire all day on Saturday. Yeah, Saturday. So we stay warm outside. Mike's Homestead says my size matters. I mean, it really does. It really does. That look at Goldilocks over. What Goldilocks? Where? What are you talking about? Talking about Sailor? I don't know what Goldilocks you're speaking of. Hunter says, "What are you going to do for heat? Wood stove, one of those many wood stoves you have in the camper. Permanently, long term for heat in Tim's cabin. I think we'll probably end up with some sort of mini wood stove, or diesel heater, or propane heater, or I don't know really. Haven't really talked about it with him. It for us it would be temporary. So I mean, I should probably have a meeting with him and see what he wants to put in there for heat, and maybe we do it sooner rather than later. might be a decent idea, but yeah, it's not that cold yet, and it's not like a cold spell or a permanent thing. It's going to be a couple days. So we'll see. So there was that, the shed base, Starlink solar project out at Tim's. The project that I'm working on to get Starlink out there full time. Canadian Farmstead. I'm not sure what you're talking about, man. Goldilocks and the Three Bears. I'm sorry. It's Monday, man. It's Monday. Give me a break. I've only had one of these. Ooh. That was another really good thing. I got to test a bunch of coffee makers this weekend. I didn't even have that on my list. I figured we wouldn't even get to it, but yeah, got to test out a bunch of extra coffee equipment this weekend, and that was fun. Had a little extra caffeine. Let's say had a little extra caffeine brewing up and testing these used coffee makers. But I think they're going to work out well. I think it's going to oh God, Goldilocks saying too cold, too hot. It's not me, man. I will adapt. I want to make it comfortable for my family. My dogs, my Great Dane is a girly boy. Clyde is a girly boy, and has no fur. He gets cold and shivers when it's even in the camper here at times. And Corey is she's a little cold-blooded, I think. As the temperature goes down, well, no, that would mean she adjusted. She's hot, super hot-blooded. When it gets chilly at all, she's uncomfortable, and that's not good. I mean, really, this is worlds better than the cold in Minnesota, and so I'm all right with it. But I want to make Corey comfortable. I want to make the dogs comfortable, and really, I mean, I make myself comfortable too. So You can screw it, Canadian Farmstead. I'm just right. So the Starlink project, to get Starlink out there full time, I'm still struggling with the power. I added in another solar panel, and it really confused me because I plugged it in. The battery was fully charged. Obviously, been sitting out charging and not discharging for a week or two. The battery was fully charged when I plugged it in, and it was like 6 o'clock on Friday evening. I ran all night Friday night to Saturday morning. I added in the second solar panel before the sun, or right as the sun was coming up. So it was, I don't even think that it had hit the panels yet. Maybe a little bit of draw, but I added in a second panel. And it charged all day. It was sunny all day. I kept popping in and checking the charge controller, and it looked as though the battery had gotten back to fully charged. Now, the problem was I didn't get up in the morning as soon as I got up and went out and checked the battery percentage. That was a mistake. I hooked in the second solar panel, let it charge all day, kind of watched the sun, where the shadows were, where it kind of progressed throughout the day, and got an idea where it stopped charging, or at least where it stopped breaking even at a minimum. The draw out, the 40 watts out for the Starlink versus what was coming in from the solar panels, that break even point. And I think I got to like 3 o'clock, 3:30. Maybe a little earlier, but at 9 o'clock, the whole system died again. So I must not have fully charged, because if it ran from 6 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning, a good 12 hours minimum, and it was fully charged there, for some reason I only got 6 hours or so out of the next day. So I think I'm really shy on input, and I haven't sat down and done the math yet again. Plus we're in the winter months and a lot less efficient. So I'm probably just quite a bit shy on my input, on my panel input. It was just kind of a toss together thing. I do have a large extra solar panel that I can move up and utilize, that's not doing anything right now, and extra portable panels that I can tie into it also, depending on what all the stats on all of them are. So that's just a work in progress. But literally, we were sitting at the fire at 9 o'clock ish. And I was watching my phone because I was going to, if I was up when the Tyson Paul fight went off, I was going to watch it on TikTok. Had found a guy that was streaming the whole evening illegally on TikTok, and so I was gonna watch it. I was interested. I got sucked in, and if I stayed awake, like if it was time to go to bed, I was gonna just go to bed. I didn't give a shit. But I looked at Corey and I said, we're probably going to wake up to the alarm from the bathhouse, which the inverter I'm using, when the supply power drops below what it should, Mike's Homestead says worst fight ever. I got some opinions on that fight too. But when the power drops below serviceable level, this screeching alarm goes off. And last time it went off, I was like, what? I didn't know what it was. I had never heard it before. And so I was like wandering around, and it was in the dark. It was at night. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And so I told Corey, I said, there's a chance that this alarm's going to go off at some point. This is what it is. Do you want me to swap it over? I would really like to see how long it lasts, blah, blah, blah. You know, we're just going back and forth. And sure as shit, like 4 or 5 minutes later, we had stopped talking about it and boop, the alarm went off. And I'm like, oh, wow, that was a way earlier than I had expected. So, yeah. So I flopped that over to our power. Our battery bank, got that fired up again. I was able to watch the Tyson Paul fight. Mike's Homestead says, "Good morning, Rewilder Life. I see you're scrambling to get to work." Mike's Homestead says it was the worst fight ever. It was a 58-year-old guy fighting a kid. He took a paycheck. Paul knew he was going to win from the first round. And they sparred for 8 rounds. Tyson looked slow. He looked old. He looked happy not to be getting beat up. He was satisfied with just dancing with Paul and sparring a little bit and taking his check and leaving. That's my opinion. Watching it, no one really landed anything. Watching analysis afterwards and watching some of the stuff that people really dug in, because I was watching it on my phone, secondary, like watching it on my phone on someone else's TV, and I was kind of getting ready to go to bed, so it wasn't full in. After the first round, after I saw the first round, I was like, yeah, this isn't. No. Young Mike Tyson would have knocked Jake Paul out in the first round and possibly injured him severely. From my watching Mike Tyson the whole time I grew up. John Palmer says it was fixed by contract. I don't know, man. I don't know. Really? The internet's a crazy place. But watching Mike Tyson step out of the corner for the first time, like you could tell it wasn't who he was. But regardless, I wouldn't fight him. That's the thing. Like, you can talk a lot of smack about how he looked and he was old and slow, and he was compared to what he was when he was younger. I still wouldn't get in a ring with him. Not a fucking chance in hell. So, I don't know. It's like every other pay-per-view in the last, that I can recall in boxing in the last, decade. All hype and nothing pans out. People said that there were a lot of great fights on the undercard. I caught a little bit of the chick fight before the main event, and that didn't look great. Everybody was like, "Oh, it was a great fight. They beat the shit out of it." That one chick head bunted the other one. I saw at least a couple times, and then Rachel in the Telegram chat said that it was multiple times throughout, and she was forehead rubbing against her, and I saw the cheap shot where she cut her wide open. I was like, whatever. Of course their faces are beat up if they're headbutting each other and then beating the shit out of the cuts that they open up. That's just silly. John Palmer says if Tyson KO'd Paul in the first round, he didn't get any money. He wouldn't have knocked him out in the first round because he was too slow. There was no way the man that was fighting in that ring was gonna knock him out. And he got more money the longer. That's what I said. He was taking a paycheck. He was old. He didn't want to get beat up, and he was just hoping to survive. Mike Tyson wasn't going to get hurt in that fight. Jake Paul could have beat him up, beat him in the head. Mike has taken so many punches in his life that Jake Paul wasn't going to, if Mike set back and protected himself, he wasn't going to get beat up. So Mike Homestead says they were okay, but UFC 309 Saturday night was awesome. I have never really been into UFC all that much. I was a little bit back with, what was that, George St. Pierre? Excuse me. Wow. Oh, wow. That came across. Woo. Good morning. Time to wake up. George St. Pierre. George St. Pierre? I don't know. It was a long time ago. Chuck Lindell, way back in the Wayback Machine. Before they really ruined the sport, basically, with all the showboating and bullshit and all that. When they got in the ring and just beat the shit out of each other instead of 16 days of bullshit talking and all the promotion and all that crap. When they would just roll at it before the money was there. Oh yeah. That was it. Before the money worked its way into the shit, and it became a spectacle. Anyway, so the Starlink died. So I got to work on that. More power, either more power or more power, more solar, and man, like in the next couple of weeks, I'll have a ton of solar to play with, and like I say, I got a bunch of panels. I can screw around with. So that one is a work in progress. That's not a critical system, other than the fact that we would end up getting the Starlink out there full time. And that hinges on whether Tim wants to have video access out there and wants to pay for a monthly Starlink subscription. Because I have one here. I don't need two, but he was interested in getting the system out there permanently, so he can check in Tennessee anytime he wants. And when it's snowing up in Canada, he can peek down here and see that there's no snow on the ground for 12 months out of the year. So that was the Starlink. The leaves have dropped enough that the obstructions are gone, though. That was a good thing. Hooked it up, went up, and I didn't even have a notice on my app that it was obstructed at all. I looked at the map, and with the leaves dropping out, things cleared up quite a bit. And so that's good. That's good. No more trees dropping until the leaves start coming in the spring. And by that time, we might have moved it somewhere else. We might be doing something, putting it in a different location. So no more trees down for that system, that Starlink right at the moment. Yeah, might as well talk about Starlink when we got home. So we've successfully traveled back and forth now 4 or 5 times since the last time the Starlink took a shit when we got home. Yesterday, got home, went to set it up, and everything went sideways. Like it just wouldn't turn on again. I got a really weird, anxious feeling. I started getting I really started having some anxiety. I was getting a little angry that this shit was going to happen again. It wasn't good. Like I felt it in my soul that this was going to go sideways again, and it wasn't going to come on. So I did a bunch of troubleshooting, and just through happenstance, I shut it off. I was thinking that it was probably a cable. I got it to come on. I unplugged some stuff. I dicked around with some stuff. I plugged it back in. I got it to come on, and it started to actuate and try to pick up signal. I was watching the app, and it got online, and then it was flashing every like 5 to 6 seconds, flashing back and forth, online, offline, online, offline. And that to me looked like a connection issue, which I'm guessing it was the cable. And so I went out. I hooked up our new shower to calm down, to get away from it, to let it sit. Like basically unplugged everything, let the Canadian Farm says negative Nancy. I wasn't being negative. It was like an overwhelming feeling I couldn't control, that this was the start of another just shit show. Like this is the start of the Starlink going down, and the truck fucking around, and everything down the line. It wasn't that I didn't want it. I wasn't like hoping for it by any means. I was hoping that everything was going to work. So I unplugged everything, all the cables, all the power, everything, and I just let it sit. I went out. I was like, I'm going to let it sit. I'm going to walk away from it and not think about it. I'm going to put the new shower together. We got a new instant propane water heater for our shower, because ours, I think I mentioned it last week, was smoking. So it was smoking, so we didn't throw it out. We just we didn't throw it out. We just took it out to the cabin. We're going to use it out there because we won't use it as much, and it'll be yeah. I don't think it's. I actually, after I took it down and I saw it looked like some leaves have gotten inside it. So I think there was actually just leaves smoldering on the heat exchanger. But whatever. We needed a new shower heater anyway. Hunter says, do you think you were close to being over the edge? Need to make sure your handlers make a note. Yes, I really feel like I was close to being over the edge. I literally turned to Corey and I said, I don't know if I can make it through another go around with this shit. Like I really had a sinking feeling in my gut where I was like, this, and it wasn't gas. I think this one might do me in. I don't know if I can handle it anymore. So I went out, I went to install the shower, realized that all my wrenches, all my adjustable wrenches, all my anything besides all my everything besides my my multi-tool were at the cabin. And I had to put it together, like all the pipe fittings and all the hoses and all that shit. And I'm like, oh, here we go. The Starlink, the heater is going to be a disaster. So I struggle to put it together. I get it together. I hang it up. I hook up the water. I turn it on. Fucking water sprayed everywhere. Obviously, I didn't get this shit tight enough. I'm like, shut the water off. I'm soaking wet. And I'm like, here it is. I just need to let go. I need to let everything happen as it's going to happen. So I unhooked all the water. I went in. I told Corey, I looked for a wrench in here. Canadian Farm says his new podcast idea: how to survive first world problem. New podcast. I've been doing this one for the last fucking 2 years, 3 years. 3 years. Holy shit. Coming up on 3 years, I think. Maybe more. I don't even know anymore. So I shut everything down. I go inside. I sit down and look at Corey, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I can do this. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make it through it, but I don't think I can go through another series of just shit shows. If it was one or any of them individually, anytime, none of them were all that crazy, other than having to get Corey to be able to work when the internet's not working. But anyway, couple deep breaths, and went back out. I took everything apart on the water side of the shower heater, put it all back together, tightened it all up, turned it on. No leaks. worked great, heated up. It was fine. I went in and I started with the Starlink again. Canadian Farm says, are you gonna film a video of yourself crying, because that seems to be very popular right now? Dude, my tears have run us dry a long time ago. I would probably have to get Visine or something to make it drip, Clear Eyes or whatever, to make it drip out of my eyes. I'm old and crusty and salty, and my tears have dried up long ago. I just get angry, and then I shake and rock back and forth. So I went back to the Starlink, and I'm like, I got this other cable. I'm thinking that it's the cable that was the issue with the intermittent online offline. It just made sense that it was the cable or connection or something. And I had a shorter cable that they sent out when they sent the replacement dish last time. They sent me a short cable instead of the long one that I needed. And so I was like, well, at least I can hook this one up and see if it works, determine whether it's the cable or not. And so I hooked up the short one. I brought the dish up forward. I was guessing that I would have had a bunch of obstructions and it would have been intermittent and everything. But the goal was to at least determine whether it was the cable or not. And then I had a solution at the cabin. I would have to run back to the cabin to get the converter ends that a company had set out to me, that you can use a Cat 6 cable or Cat 5 cable to use as a Starlink cable, because it just converts the ends to that proprietary Starlink end. I had that and a 100-foot Ethernet cable at the cabin because I was going to use it there, and everything was working fine here. So I stopped bringing it back and forth. So I plugged in the short cable, went inside, sat down, it fired right up, it went online, and I was like, okay, well, it's cable issue for sure. Or we'll be ordering a new cable, but needed Corey to be able to work today, and hopefully do this, but this isn't money critical, obviously, but I needed her to be able to work and have consistent internet. So I told her, I'm going to hook up the long cable again. We'll see if it works. Maybe moving the cable, maybe jiggling it around. It was an intermittent connection issue. Who knows? Maybe one of the cables wasn't completely seated in there and it was wobbling. I don't know. But I'm going to hook up the old cable that wasn't working. I'm going to put the dish back where it is. We'll see if it works. So I fired that up and it came on. It came online. It wasn't flickering back and forth. It's still working. It's still plugged in now. But I looked at her and I said, I got to go out and get the shit. I got to go get the supplies to fix it. Because it'll probably work all night and it'll go sideways in the morning if I don't go get it. And if I do go get it, I'm guessing that it's going to just keep working. It's going to be fine, and I'm not going to have to use the shit. So I took a nice evening drive back out to the cabin where I had just been all morning and just got home, literally a couple hours prior. Grabbed the converter ends and the Ethernet cable, came back, and like I said, we're still on. It hasn't fluttered at all. So I'm hoping it was a connection. It just wasn't pushed in far enough, and it was just making a little bit of a connectivity issue. I don't know, but it's working right now, and I'm not fucking touching it until I need to. So that was Starlink. That was another adventure. I don't know. I gotta order a new cable. I gotta order two new cables actually that are the right length. So And I have to order our backup Starlink, because that was the other thing. I never ordered it, the backup, because we were going back and forth between Tim and I whether he wanted to order a second line for his account to put out at Delinquent Scully, or I was going to order a second one and put it out there, and we just never finalized that, and it was working fine, so I never ordered it. So my bad. I was not a good prepper in that aspect. So that needs to be done. It's expensive though. It's like fucking $600 or $400, and then I just don't want to. I don't want to pay that at the moment. So, but it's working. It's working. We'll see. We'll see. Water. Another problem to figure out at Delinquent Scully. And I had a feeling that this was going to be an issue when we were designing it. Not necessarily when we were designing it, when we were installing it. I was wondering if this was going to become an issue. So, if you don't know, here, I don't know if you can see this. Nope, can't see it. All right, if you're watching the video, this is where the water goes in to the sump in the creek. Creek flows down, fills up 5-gallon bucket. It's got screen and rock and all sorts of stuff. There's an outlet pipe in there. It runs across underground into a 55-gallon drum that's sunk down a little bit, and it goes into the side of that and runs in and then overflows. Went down on Saturday. Had decided where I want to put the tote, because with the portable water heater out there and the spare RV pump I have at the cabin, I'll be able to, if I fill the tote up, be able to have hot showers instead of the pump shower with just bucket water or gravity feed bag hanging shower. We would be able to pressurize the water, run it through the propane heater, and have hot shower at the cabin. And so I ordered a tote adapter for the tote outlet that goes to a garden hose, and away we would go. I just hooked that through the RV pump up to the water heater. Good. So I needed to fill the tote up by the cabin, by Tim's cabin, using the spring fed water creek fed drum, basically the same way we had been doing it. Pump it up the hill. We were using it to fill buckets for the nursery or filtered water. Basically I was gonna fill up the tote until the drum bled down, turn it off, let it fill back up, and just go up and down the hill filling the tote. Once it got close to full, we just let the spring run again. Well, I went down and it was barely trickling. The overflow was barely trickling out, and I was like, "This is weird. It's not running the way it was. It had been." So I had some issues before where it had slowed down, and I thought it was the standpipe when it goes into the pipe down to the bottom, and that had gotten gunked up with some silt or something, and it wasn't able to push through as well. So I'd taken the standpipe off and set that inside. It was just kind of going straight in and draining in. And my theory there was that the 55-gallon drum had raised up a little bit, had floated on me, because we didn't have enough weight in the bottom. It got air trapped underneath. I wasn't sure really why. But it was almost like our pitch on our fill pipe had kind of raised up, so it wasn't running in quite as well. When I pumped down the 55-gallon drum Saturday, I went and did some other stuff. I gave it an hour. I went back down and it hadn't filled at all. There was no water running in the pipe, in the fill pipe. There was water in the collection 5-gallon bucket. I noticed that the water in the collection bucket was lower than the water outside the bucket. And so I started trying to figure out what the hell was going on, why it wasn't running. So I messed around, I pulled it apart a little bit, and really I think I got two issues going on. One is I think that both the collection 5-gallon and the 55-gallon drum with our significant rain events, two of them probably pushed those up a little bit to where my pitch is not down at all. Because I unhooked the pipe and I pushed the pipe down, it wasn't in the tote or in the drum anymore. It was shy. There's a union there. Pulled it apart, pushed the pipe down, and it runs. Let the pipe go, and it stops running. So basically, I think when we installed it, we were so close to level that drum lifting up a little bit put us at a positive pitch. So the water isn't running through there. The second issue is I think with the rain events, we got a lot of slurry, and it clogged my screen. I think it clogged. It might have clogged the holes filling the 5-gallon bucket. I ran my hand down through the rocks and kind of shook some stuff up, and it seemed to fill a little bit more. So I think I got two issues. I think I got a clog in the filter, and I think my collection barrel floated on me a little bit. So I'm trying to pump water uphill with gravity, which doesn't work. So little work there. One is just going to be getting the 55-gallon drum deeper in the ground, or drilling a new hole in the side lower, and I'm not sure which is going to happen there. Maybe a combination of both. I don't know. The top part is more of a concern to me with the slurry and how much fine sediment slurry accumulated in just those two significant rain events, because we're coming into the rainy part of the year here, and we'll see what happens there. But I have kind of a solution that I'm working on for that. By putting, basically, I want to build a rock cage and expand the area that the water comes through, giving it more time to slow down and drop that sediment further out, and also make it so it's more accessible to be pulled out, cleaned, and reinstalled, which is it's really I don't want to say impossible. It's a pain in the ass right now. That thing's suctioned in there. I'm pretty sure what I'll end up doing is making a cage for it, filling it with gravel, and be able to lift it in and out. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't decided yet, but so there's that. It's just like, I had a feeling that both of those were going to be issues as we were installing it, like I said, and I don't think we sunk the barrel enough. Either we didn't sink the barrel enough, or we cut it too close when we cut the hole, drilled the hole in the barrel. It was too close to level, unfortunately. So I get to play in the mud. Get to adjust it, let's say. So that'll be fun coming up. That'll be fun. I was happy that when I pushed down the pipe, it actually started flowing. So there was at least a little bit of a positive that I was on the right track with the fact that it had floated. So no spring fed system is kind of on hold at the moment. So that was another problem. Shed base, Starlink didn't work at home. Starlink solar, our tote was full, which is good. We got the systems kind of figured out for the cabin water, where we want to put the totes up at Tim's cabin. We're probably gonna have a couple of different systems and separate systems and backups just in case what's happening is happening. And we'll probably, Corey and I sat and talked about it quite a bit, and probably do some rain catchment off the roofs. One for kitchen use, one for backup, and one and then the spring fed system for the bathhouse. So we'll see. That is what it is. It is what it is. I'm going to Builder today. Hopefully, gonna head on over to the company that sells the metal material and builds pole barns. Friends of ours use them to build their pole barn. I'm gonna go over and talk to them about my design idea. See what they think. See if I need to edit it at all, change it. John Palmer says call Sean and ask him if he warranties his work. Yeah. Yeah. There is that. Go over and talk to them about our design, talk about materials, talk about I'm interested in weight. I'm interested in their suggestions. Just kind of talk it over a little bit with them and see yeah, just start that process. It's been slow getting there, but head over today and really kick that part into gear, getting a structure up for us, at least a shell, and go from there. So that'll be interesting. That's coming this morning. I figured out, so I got some boots. I bought new boots. Hunter says he got reception back. Well, that's nice. That's nice. So boot issues, shoe issues. I've come to a conclusion. I got to find some zero drop boots. Been going and doing some testing back and forth with these Reebok tactical boots. They're comfortable, but they make my heels hurt. They make my feet sore. And so I did a little test this weekend. I had a pair of barefoot shoes. I wore the boots on Friday, and it wasn't even a full day. Basically, it was offloading the truck and taking it up to Tim's cabin, the evening, kind of mulling around, and then doing the fire and incidental walking around here and there. So basically maybe half a dozen trips up and down the hill, and 4 or 5 hours, and my heels were killing me. And I was like, this isn't right. The next day, I wore the barefoot shoes all day long. Just the stuff I was doing I didn't need like steel toes or anything like that. And no pain whatsoever. No knee twinges, no hip, no heel pain. My back didn't hurt. And I walked way more on Saturday. It was longer time. And so I've come to the conclusion I just need to find some zero drop boots, or wear barefoot shoes and just be extremely careful that I don't, I guess, throw some boots on if I'm running saw or doing something that's going to drop trees or something like that. Ruai says barefoot for the win. I knew you'd be happy about that. It's I know it. I know it in my head. I know it in my brain. I know in all my being that feels better for me my joints hurt less. My everything hurts less. I feel better. My posture's better. And she says it's hard though when you work, and it is. It's a protection thing. It's running a saw and nicking the top of my boots, or dropping something on my toes. It's that's the problem. So I think I'm just going to end up having to have multiple pairs of shoes. Barefoots are on, and then consciously think about, okay, what am I doing next? I need to put on my boots. I need to put my barefoot shoes back on now that I'm done with that. I think it's something that I just have to focus on instead of putting a pair of shoes on in the morning and letting it go. So I also have some stuff coming up in my daily routines that might help with that. Definitely going to focus on getting more barefoot grounding time, possibly in the morning, in the evening. I had a conversation with a guest on the new podcast, and he really got me thinking. And I kind of dove into some of his stuff that he had put out. Very, very, very successful guy, and he's young. He's been able to explore a lot of different avenues with as far as health, meditation, barefoot, sun, all the things that we're aware of that are benefits. But as I was reading his stuff, he credits a lot of that to his success, and a lot of his success to routine and things like that. So it's got me thinking a lot, and I want to make some shifts. And I think a lot of a barefoot time, grounding time, stretching, and things like that is going to be a large part of that transition here. And more daily stoic, and we might start reading that on the show. I don't know. I've been thinking a lot about the show and what I want to do with it, and what parts I enjoy and what parts I don't. And yeah, so coming up on the new year, guys, you got to change it to new year. you gotta make New Year's resolutions and make it all right for the next year, or the first couple weeks of the next year, I guess. I don't know. So that's well, Rewilded License, that sounds like a good listen. We didn't really talk about much of that in the interview. It was actually more before and after. We did get into a little bit, but it was more a conversation offline. John Palmer says Brian the Monk. This guy actually considered, he's very into right now. I can't remember the name, and I don't even know if I could pronounce it if I could remember it. But he and another guest. It was so weird because I've had two guests in the last must have been 2 weeks since I've been doing these interviews. Rewilder Life says, which one is it? I think it's coming out in January. I think it might be the New Year's. His name's Eric McHuff. I'll remind you, Rachel, when it comes out. But two guys have done these 10-day silent retreats at monasteries. They both say it's incredible. They basically, you spend 10 days meditating with monks. And they said it was absolutely life-changing, life-altering, both of them. And I'm like, Corey's like, you couldn't be quiet for 10 minutes, let alone 10 days. And I was like, well, that's the life-changing thing. Like, you really learn to just shut the fuck up, I think. and think about what's going on in your head. But yeah, they both suggested these 10-day silent retreats, and I'm like, maybe that's what we should be doing at Delinquent Scully. John thinks Corey's funny. John thinks you're funny, Corey. So yeah, I just I need to focus on some different stuff. Focus being the key word. Focus being the key word. I'm gonna let this time in the morning be my all over the place, and then get really intentional with the rest of my time. I think there's a lot of waste there. So, Rewilder Life says retreats would be good for a hip camp. Yeah, we're I don't know. Tim and I talked a lot about hip camp, and we're not sure if we want to do public or private. We're leaning very heavily towards private and using I don't want to say word of mouth, but a lot of in network communication and book private. I don't know. We're still building out infrastructure, but we're going to start with a workshop type model for sure, as opposed to open camping, where we're gonna put on events. I think that's going to be the main draw, should I say, at the beginning. Workshops, education, events, and things like that, and the camping is going to be secondary to that while people are there, just to have a place for them to stay, and then upgraded to cabins too. So we'll see how it goes. Got a lot of as we're on the property and listening to the property and seeing what makes sense, that it's becoming more it's becoming more palatable to hold events there. We'll see. Looked like they were working on the road a little bit this weekend too, so that would be really nice once the road's fixed, and we don't have to worry about people getting in and out regardless of their vehicle type. That changes things quite a bit too, and maybe spot camping would make more sense at that point, and when we're there full time, and wouldn't have to worry about getting people in and out, and people being late or early, things like that. If we're already on site, it changes the dynamic quite a bit. So we will see. Like I said, I got to test a bunch of new coffee stuff this weekend. It was fun. I'll have reviews coming out of all of them, but I was able to test out the AeroPress, the Final Press, and a new grinder I got. And then I took a look at a pour over kit that would be fantastic for Airbnb or a hip camp. It comes with everything you need in a little box and a foam container. The only thing it was lacking was a heat source to heat the water, and a thermometer for the kettle. But you could just run it to boiling and let it dial back and guess. But it does have a hole in the lid of the kettle to put one of those cheapy thermometers down in. Candy thermometer, I think they're called. I don't know, the ones with just the stem and the round dial, and or a digital one. And like there was, you could just put it in the little hole and let it sit there. AeroPress. First thoughts. Both of them, both the AeroPress and the Final Press, take a little bit of messing around. I think we all have personal preference as far as strength of coffee, brew, roast type, actual brew strength, and what flavors and hues and tones and notes you want coming out of the coffee bean. These two smaller presses will be able to do that wonderfully. Dial that in with the smaller brew method, with the amount of customization between brew size, bean, how much weight you use, how many beans you use, the amount of water you use for your beans, the roast of the beans, the grind size. All of this is going to be a factor in what it tastes like. And these little small brewing methods, just in the messing around with it that I did, I was able to make a full-bodied, almost it felt dark roast or dark brew, and then all the way to a lighter brew just by adjusting the grind size and a little bit of the seep time. Oh, that's another factor. How long you let it seep. I think once I get it dialed in and understand where my sweet spot is with them, I think they're going to be fantastic. I'm really excited to be able to either have a French press and then a single cup of coffee, or maybe a couple of single cups, or a batch brew with the AeroPress. Can make a little larger brew, but they work great. They work as advertised. I would highly suggest, if you like messing around with your coffee, if you like dialing in and playing with it a little bit, figuring out where you get your optimal flavor, I think both of them are perfectly fine. I think they're going to work great. I'm excited to get that to that point with them. The final press will do tea. Basically, the final press is like a little mini French press. It's got a little screen on the bottom and a plunger in it, and you fill it with coffee or tea. You let it sit in your cup, just like a tea ball for loose leaf tea. You set it in there. You stir it around a little bit. You let it sit. Then you pick it up and you stir it around a little bit more, and then you press the plunger and you can squeeze out the grounds. That worked really nice. Like I said, that'll be messing around with how much grounds to put in the press and how long to let it seep, how many times to stir it. But once I dial that in, I think it's going to make a fantastic cup. The AeroPress is a different animal for sure. I'm watching some more videos on it. I watched a video by the inventor of it, which was very informational. And I think it's going to be it's different. It's different. It makes a really nice cup of coffee. It tastes fantastic. But dialing it into your specific taste is always a challenge. But not really a challenge. It's I think the fact that you put together the fact that you can make it taste better is important. I think if you buy one of these devices, even a French press, anything where you're involving grind size, seep time, ground amount, all of these things, you have to realize that you can adjust any of them and it'll make the coffee taste different, better or worse. You can't do that with your Folgers. You can do it with a drip brew. It's probably the least customizable. It's just going to be how much coffee you put in it, basically. These other ones are a lot of fun to play with. If you enjoy coffee, if you enjoy messing around with different tastes that you can get out of the same bean, and realizing you can get it out of the same bean, maybe check one of these out. If you got a coffee snob in your family, in your gift list for this holiday season, I think any of these items would be great. I'll be putting together a coffee list for the holiday season that you can go on Amazon to the idea list and see all the different things that I think are worth the money, and I'll continue to keep getting more. I did test out my new $100 hand grinder, and I'll tell you, I don't have $100 to drop on a grinder. That's just that. If I hadn't gotten it as a sample, I probably wouldn't have bought it. I got it as a sample, and I can definitely tell the difference. Is it $100 difference? Oh, I guess is it an $85 difference? The one that I use, the manual grinder I've been using for a ton of years, is $15. Is the $100 grinder $85 better? maybe. I guess it depends on how much money you have. It is 100% better. It is absolutely, the gears run different. The weight and quality is different. The adjustment gears for the different grind size are tighter. They're more precise. It actually gives you not a readout, but you can actually dial it in to down to a different numbers and have an idea of what you're doing. The old $15 one I have is just take it all the way out and crank it one and a quarter times, and you know, it locks in. It works fine. The burrs on this new one are great. The gear motion when you're turning the crank, it feels different. You can feel the quality in that. It also has a powder sifter in the bottom. You can take different sieve sizes and install it in where the grounds come out. You can cap it after you grind it, shake it up, and all that powder residue. So if you drink French press, you know you'll get powder residue in the bottom of your cup, or little grinds. This shakes those out. It shakes the powdered out into a little chamber that you can then empty out or use for whatever you want. But the grinder is great. It is absolutely great. If you're looking for a new grinder and you got $100, yes. If you're looking for a new grinder and you got somebody that's looking for a gift to give you, gift ideas, and it's got to be in that $100 range, yes. If you're paycheck to paycheck, buy the $15 fucking grinder. It grinds the coffee fine. It's a luxury. I don't want to say luxury item. It's a luxury upgrade. The grinder. But it's nice. It's really nice. I'm glad I got to test it out. I will definitely be using it for my smaller batch grinds. So anyway, that's that. We'll talk a little bit more about those items tomorrow or the rest of the week as I test them more and dial them in. I might end up start using them during the show and things like that. So we'll see. It's Monday. I got to wrap it up. I got to get a bunch of stuff to do, and then I got to off to the builder to have a conversation about my cabin plans and if they'll work. And so that's an exciting day, guys. I hope everybody has a great Monday. Their week starts out great. You get rolling and enjoy it. Man, have an awesome day. Be productive. Get something done, and we'll circle back and talk to you tomorrow.